It's absolutely different to other Tamdhus that I've tried. It's very much... Thank you guys for joining me again for another video with me, Wade, on McIntyre's malts. And today I am going to do a tasting and review of the Tamdhu Distinction Batch 1. This one was graciously provided by the absolute legends at Swift & More, who are the distributors for Tamdhu. Whilst Swift & More have been very generous to provide this bottle of Tamdhu for me to do the review, this is in no way a paid promotion, so my opinion and the review of this whiskey is still going to be mine and my own. So the Tamdhu Distinction is called so because it's the only Tamdhu whiskey that is matured in American oak barrels. Hence the distinction from their normal practice being European sherry oak. The stats on this one are a little interesting. It's very different. Most of the Tamdhu range clearly label on the box and the back of most of the labels, natural color. No mention anywhere of whether or not this is natural color, and I thought that was odd. And given that Tamdhu mention it on virtually every other whiskey of theirs that I've tried, I would lean towards saying this is not natural color. The other part that I find interesting about the Tamdhu Distinction, it is 48% ABV. So that means it's non-chill filtered. It's almost like the reverse. You've got the 15-year-old, which is natural color and non-chill filtered. And then this is like a flip on the 12, which is natural color and chill filtered. Then you have this Tamdhu expression as non-chill filtered and probably artificially colored. So interesting. I'm not sure why they've taken that route. I was a little apprehensive when I first opened it. My first pour, I was not impressed. It was very ethanol forward, so I was a little unsure of how this was going to play out. So I've let it sit now for, I don't know, about a month. So we should get a better experience with what the Tamdhu Distinction Quercus Alba has to offer. That's a good cork pop. So if you're not aware, Quercus Alba is the scientific name for the American oak tree, and Quercus robur is the scientific name for European oak. Let's begin with the nose. Very, very, very present honey note, most certainly. It's more fruit forward. It's not like a typical caramel type note that you would get on a sherried or a Tamdhu whiskey in general. Much more of a golden honey. There's a touch of spice here. A little hint of white pepper. When I was a kid, my grandmother had the gooseberry bush in her garden, and we used to always peel off the sort of outer casing on the berry and smush them and play with those as kids. And this is most certainly the flavor of the nose rather of the gooseberries. This sort of, there's a little bitiness. This sort of, it's like akin to a similar type sharp citric lime note, along with the maltiness. It's almost a hint of shortbread and a touch of creaminess with that honey note. It comes across to me as like a key lime pie, and combine that with what is a younger whiskey in this bottle, you're getting a bit of the bitiness, but more fruit forward and not the typical sherry notes. All right, let's try now on the palate. Cheers. Beautiful. Got some good bite to it. Wonderful. I am very relieved that I've let this sit for about a month. As I said, my first impression, I was a little apprehensive to do the review quickly because the initial pour was too spirit forward and it hadn't had time to open up and develop. I got this beautiful creaminess. The honey is there. It's gorgeous. A nice mouthfeel, good texture, lingering. Then it shifted into black tea notes, and then that slowly eased into the oak with hints at the top note of fruit. So I'm talking the citrus, the lime, the gooseberries. It is surprisingly creamy. It's just starting to now taper off. The finish is slowly drifting away, and I'm left with what feels like remnants of if I've had a spoonful of sticky honey. Definitely made itself known as the different flavor profile and influence that comes from this oak, and enough of a difference that it's clearly something special or a special expression, which is very cool. It's typically available for about 170 Australian dollars. Okay, what I want to do now is I'm going to add a drop of water and see if it changes the notes on my nose and my palate. Probably looking at about 2 mils of water at best, and we're looking at maybe 20 mils in my glass. Okay. The water hasn't made a great impact on the nose. Lime and citric heavy. Maybe it's brought that forward a touch, but not a noticeable difference from adding a little bit of water. Slange. The addition of the water has brought out more of the white pepper, a little bit more bitey. I prefer it without the water. It's lost a tiny bit of the texture as to be expected when you add water. Less of the creaminess. If you are looking for something a little bit different, it's probably one that you'd be very interested in trying. It has more of a bite than the other Tamdhu expressions that I've reviewed. I do attribute that peppery note to the youthfulness of this whiskey. I would say that's a little bit of the distillate, the new make, still having a strong presence, that the oak hasn't had as much impact on the whiskey itself, but it absolutely has a unique and different impact on the whiskey compared to Tamdhu that is matured exclusively in European oak. I would recommend this one if you like to explore different versions of a whiskey or a distillery that you're very fond of that's been matured in different ways. It's most certainly one that should be on your radar. So thank you for checking this one out, and thank you to the team at Swift & Moore once again for sending this one through for me to review. While I enjoy this, go and have a look at this video I made a little bit earlier, and enjoy your whiskey responsibly. Slanjava.